The moment you explain yourself, you lose. Not because people don't understand you, but because they don't need to. Power is silence, and silence terrifies. Respect is not a transaction. It is not something you can request, nor is it something you can logically argue for. Respect is an atmosphere, a gravitational pull that certain people exert without ever seeming to try. To understand its silent power, we must first understand its origins in the primitive corners of the human psyche. At its core, respect is a response to perceived competence and confidence. It is the subconscious calculation we make about another person's ability to navigate the world, and their certainty in that ability. When you encounter someone who is utterly at ease in their own skin, who does not seek your approval or fear your disapproval, your brain does not register them as a peer. It registers them as a potential leader, a threat, or an asset, something to be carefully assessed and, crucially, not challenged. This perception is built on what is not said. The unflinching gaze, the calm, measured response, the comfort with silence. Now, contrast this with the explainer. The moment you launch into a justification, you are broadcasting a subconscious signal of inferiority. You are placing the other person in the role of judge, jury, and executioner of your choices. You are saying, your validation is necessary for my actions to be deemed correct. This immediately inverts the power dynamic. The courtroom is now in session, and you are the defendant pleading your case. Can you respect your lawyer while they beg? Or do you respect the judge who holds the gavel? Think of a social context. A solitary figure stands at the edge of a crowded room. They are not vying for attention, not explaining their presence. They are simply present. And because of that, the room's attention slowly bends toward them. What do they know? Who are they? The mystery is magnetic. Our brains are wired to solve puzzles, to seek out hidden information. A person who is an open book is quickly read, filed away, and forgotten. A person who is a locked vault inspires obsession. We assign value to what we cannot easily access. This is the scarcity principle applied to human connection. Your silence is the lock on the vault. Your unexplained actions are the treasure inside. And everyone, on some deep primal level, wants to find the key. If silence is so powerful, why does the urge to explain feel like a biological imperative? Why does the words claw at our throats, desperate to break free, even when we know they may cost us? This compulsion is not a character flaw. It is a deep-seated survival mechanism, a ghost in the machine of modern social life. We are a tribal species. Our ancestors' survival depended on staying within the good graces of the group. Exile was a death sentence. This evolutionary hangover manifests today as a profound fear of social rejection. When we feel judged or misunderstood, our amygdala, the brain's alarm system, screams that we are in danger, that we are on the verge of being cast out. Explaining ourselves is our primitive attempt to sew ourselves back into the social fabric, to prove our value and our alignment with the tribe's norms. It is a plea. See, I am logical. I am one of you. Do not cast me out. Furthermore, we live in a world that preaches the gospel of communication as a universal salve. We are told to express our feelings, to talk it out, to ensure we are perfectly clear. This well-intentioned advice ignores a dark social truth. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world, and clarity can be weaponized against you. Your reasons become points to be debated. Your vulnerabilities become weaknesses to be exploited. Your transparency becomes a map that others use to navigate around your boundaries. There is a crucial chasm between instinct and strategy. Your instinct, forged in the fires of tribal anxiety, tells you to explain, to soothe, to make everyone comfortable with your choices. Strategy, however, understands that true respect is never given to those who make others comfortable. It is given to those who are comfortable with the discomfort of others. It is given to those who can hold space for misunderstanding without rushing to fill it with noise. Every time you explain, you are feeding the beast of your own insecurity. You are chipping away at your silent authority, sanding down your edges to make yourself easier to swallow. But people don't respect what is easy. They respect what is solid, unyielding, and mysteriously, terrifyingly whole. In the void of explanation, a different kind of power is born. It is not the loud, brash power of domination, but the quiet, magnetic pull of the unseen. This is the power of silence, a tool so potent precisely because it is so rarely used in a world drowning in noise. Silence is a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. When you refuse to explain, you create a psychological void that others will feel compelled to fill. They will project their own assumptions, their own theories, their own narratives onto your blank slate. And crucially, people always believe the stories they tell themselves far more than the stories they are told. Your silence allows them to write a version of you that is often more competent, more confident, and more formidable than any reality you could have verbally constructed. You become a mirror, and they see in you what they most expect, or fear, to see in a person of authority. Consider the calm strategist observing a chaotic battlefield. Their power does not come from barking orders every second. It comes from their intense, silent observation. Their troops look to them not for constant direction, but for the unwavering stability of their presence. Their silence says, "The situation is beneath my panic, and therefore it should be beneath yours." This calm is contagious and commands absolute loyalty. Or think of a lone figure on a cliff, overlooking a stormy sea. They are unshaken by the chaos below. Their power is in their stillness amidst the tumult. They are the eye of the storm. This is the magnetic pull of restraint. It communicates that your internal state is not dependent on external validation. Your worth is not up for debate. It is a settled fact. This is profoundly disarming. Someone who wants to provoke you, to get a rise out of you, finds no purchase in your silence. They throw a stone into the well and hear no splash. This is not ignorance. It is transcendence. You have moved the battlefield from the external world of words to the internal world of perception. And in that arena, the silent one always holds the advantage, because they are the one who defines the terms of engagement simply by refusing to engage on anyone else's terms. The habit of over-explanation is a slow, psychic death by 1,000 cuts. Each justification, each unnecessary reason, each plea for understanding may feel insignificant in the moment, but their cumulative cost is everything. It is the erosion of your social, professional, and personal standing until you are left with nothing but the hollow echo of your own words. Professionally, it is a career killer. Imagine a leader in a meeting. Every decision they make is followed by a 5-minute monologue justifying its logic to their subordinates. What happens? Their authority evaporates. The team begins to second-guess them. If the leader is so unsure that they need our validation, why are they the leader? The perception of competence plummets. You are no longer the decider. You are a salesperson, and a bad one at that, trying to convince everyone to buy a product they already own. You train people to believe your judgment is inherently faulty and requires a committee to approve it. You invite scrutiny where none was asked for. Socially and romantically, it is even more devastating. It makes you predictable. It makes you needy. There is no mystery, no intrigue. You become an algorithm. Input a criticism, receive a lengthy explanation. People know exactly how to manipulate you. They simply have to question you, and you will hand them the reins to your emotional state. You become a puppet, your strings pulled by the slightest raised eyebrow or offhand comment, jerking into a dance of self-defense. Your relationships become transactional, built on your exhausting need to be perpetually understood rather than on mutual attraction or respect. But the deepest cost is to the self. Every time you explain, you are outsourcing your validation. You are telling your own psyche, "My own certainty is not enough. I need them to confirm that I am right." This creates a fragile, externalized identity. Your sense of self-worth becomes tied to the fickle approval of others. You lose touch with your own inner compass because you are too busy reading the faces in the crowd. This is a special kind of hell, a prison of your own making, where you are both the warden and the inmate, constantly explaining yourself to a parole board that never meets and never grants your freedom. The energy you waste on explanations is energy stolen from your own life, a slow leak that drains your power, your time, and your very essence. If over-explaining dilutes your power, then understanding the power of the unsaid is how you concentrate it. This is the art of strategic omission. It is knowing that the most powerful message is often the one never sent. The most potent truth is the one left hanging in the air, felt by everyone but spoken by no one. This power operates on several psychological principles. The first, as mentioned, is scarcity. We attribute greater value to what is withheld. A person who shares their thoughts sparingly makes each word seem considered, valuable, and weighty. Their speech becomes a commodity. Conversely, a person who speaks constantly makes their words background noise, expected, abundant, and worthless. The second principle is mystery. Mystery is not about being secretive. It is about being layered. It is the understanding that no one should ever be able to claim they have fully figured you out. There should always be another room, another door, another dimension to you that remains unseen. This is what keeps people engaged, intrigued, and invested in you. Think of a closed door with light seeping through the cracks. The mind is drawn to what is behind it. The imagination constructs possibilities far more magnificent and terrifying than the reality. You want to be that door. You want your presence to suggest depth, to promise a world within that others can sense but not see. This is the essence of allure and respect. It is the shadowed figure walking past a crowd. They did not demand attention, but their quiet, self-contained energy drew every eye. They are noticed precisely because they are not trying to be. This is the ultimate contrast to verbosity. The over-explainer shines a blinding, interrogative light on every single one of their thoughts, leaving no shadow, no depth, nothing to the imagination. They are a flat, two-dimensional drawing. The person who masters the unsaid is a sculpture in a dimly lit room. The light plays off their curves and angles, revealing different facets from different perspectives, but the full form is never completely illuminated. People will spend a lifetime trying to see you clearly in the dark, and in that endless pursuit, respect is born. Every social interaction is a subtle negotiation for status and authority. It is a silent, often unconscious dance where power is constantly being given and taken. In this dance, your willingness to explain yourself is the moment you willingly hand over the lead. Groups have a collective consciousness. They instinctively identify and rally around centers of gravity, individuals who project unshakable stability. This is not about being the loudest. It is about being the most still. In a meeting, when a difficult question is asked, watch the room. The first person to speak, to nervously fill the silence, often loses. The person who can sit in that silence, who can absorb the tension without flinching, who then responds with a measured, economical answer, is the person the room defers to. They have demonstrated that the pressure of the group does not control their internal state. They are the chess player, calmly observing the board while others feel like pieces being moved. This dynamic plays out in every arena. In social circles, the person whose plans are firm, whose opinions are stated without apology, and whose boundaries are enforced without explanation becomes the de facto leader. People orient their lives around them. In dating, the partner who is least needy, who does not feel compelled to justify their time or their affections, holds the magnetic pull. Neediness is the antithesis of attraction. It is a confession of low value. By explaining your absence, you scream that you fear their disapproval. By being silent in it, you communicate that your life is full and your value is self-evident. This is a philosophical reflection on control. The over-explainer is trying to control the other person's perception of them. This is a futile, exhausting endeavor. The person of silent authority controls only themselves, their reactions, their words, their emotional state. By relinquishing the need to control others, they ironically gain immense influence over them. People are drawn to that self-containment because it is rare and powerful. It promises safety. It signals that this person will not be swayed by every social breeze, and in a chaotic world, that is the most attractive quality of all. They become the steady ship in the storm, and everyone else instinctively becomes the desperate swimmer trying to climb aboard. Cultivating silent authority does not mean becoming a mute, stone-faced statue. It is about relearning how to speak, when to speak, and with what weight. It is the art of economy, where every word is chosen not out of anxiety, but out of intention. This is how you communicate without ceding the power you've built. The first and most crucial rule is the strategic pause. Before you respond to any question, especially a challenging or accusatory one, institute a mandatory pause. Count to 3 in your head. Let the silence hang. This does several things instantly. First, it shatters the expected rhythm of challenge and immediate defense. It throws the other person off balance. Second, it signals that you are a person who thinks before they speak, that your words are not a reflexive panic but a considered judgment. Third, it gives you a moment to ask the most important question. Does this actually require a response? Often, you will find it does not. When you do speak, practice economy of words. Answer the question directly and stop. Do not embellish. Do not add supporting evidence unless it is explicitly asked for. If you decided to leave a job, a simple, "It was time for a new challenge," is infinitely more powerful than a 5-minute saga about the bad manager and the stagnant culture. The former is a statement of purpose. The latter is a plea for validation of your grievance. Use declarative statements instead of justificatory ones. "I won't be able to attend" is powerful. "I won't be able to attend because I have so much laundry to do and I'm just really tired and" is weak. Another powerful tool is strategic ambiguity. This is not about lying. It is about protecting your internal world. Questions like "What are you thinking?" or "Why are you upset?" do not always require full, transparent answers. Responses like "I'm working through a few things" or "just considering the options" are perfectly valid. They protect your privacy and maintain your mystery. They are the equivalent of a no-entry sign on the door to your inner sanctum. People will learn that your world is not open for public browsing. This is not dishonesty. It is stewardship of your own energy and power. You are moving from a default setting of "explain everything" to a default setting of "explain only what is necessary and strategic." In that shift, everything changes. At the heart of the compulsive need to explain lies a fragile, overactive ego. This may sound counterintuitive. We often think of ego as arrogance, but the explainer's ego is a needy, validation-seeking child. It is terrified of being perceived as wrong, as bad, or as foolish. It believes that its worth is contingent on the unanimous approval of everyone it meets. Every explanation is the ego's attempt to control that narrative, to sculpt how it is perceived, to ensure it is never wounded. This is why not explaining feels so unnatural. It feels like an act of self-neglect. You are allowing your ego to be bruised. You are allowing yourself to be misunderstood. This is where a darker, more profound truth emerges. The willingness to be misunderstood is one of the greatest acts of power you can perform. It is the ultimate declaration that your self-worth is an internal state, utterly independent of external opinion. You are saying to the world, "Your understanding is not a prerequisite for my peace. Your judgment is not the judge of me." This is the nuanced balance between ego and strategic vulnerability. True vulnerability is not the compulsive oversharing of the insecure ego. True vulnerability is a conscious, calculated choice to reveal a weakness from a position of strength. It is the leader who admits a mistake without a cascade of excuses, simply stating, "I was wrong. Here's how we fix it." That admission, devoid of ego-driven justification, actually increases respect because it demonstrates supreme confidence. The ego-driven explainer reveals weakness from a position of weakness, begging for absolution. The person of silent authority can choose to be vulnerable because their foundation is so solid that one crack does not threaten the entire structure. Imagine a masked figure, their identity protected, moving with power and mystery. This is the ego, hidden behind a facade of justification. Now imagine that figure choosing, calmly and on their own terms, to remove the mask. Their face is calm, composed. They are not afraid of being seen because their power does not come from the mask. It comes from within. This is the transformation. You are no longer explaining to protect a fragile ego. You are choosing, strategically and sparingly, to connect from a place of unassailable strength. The difference is everything. This silent power is not a new concept. It is a thread that runs through the tapestry of history and philosophy, practiced by those who understood that true authority is felt, not announced. They wielded the power of the unsaid as their greatest weapon. Consider the Stoic philosophers, particularly Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled the Roman Empire at its zenith. His personal writings, meditations, were not for public consumption. They were a private journal, a dialogue with himself on how to maintain virtue, justice, and self-control amidst unimaginable power and pressure. He practiced a philosophy of inner fortitude. He did not need to justify his edicts to the masses or his senators. His power was expressed through action, through restraint, and through a deep, unshakable commitment to his duty. His silence was not emptiness. It was the quiet hum of immense capability. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who peered into the abyss, spoke of the pathos of distance, the inherent respect and awe that comes from those who maintain a certain detachment, who hold themselves apart from the fray. He saw the herd mentality of those who constantly seek approval and blur together through overcommunication. The individual who can stand alone, silent in their convictions, becomes the Übermensch, not a superman in strength, but one who has transcended the need for social validation. Their silence is the distance they create, a space where respect grows unimpeded. Throughout history, the most influential leaders often possessed a quality of reticence. Think of the calm, silent strategist observing the battlefield, their mind calculating moves while others panicked. Their power was in their perception and their timing, not in their volume. They understood that a plan explained is a plan debated, but a plan executed with silent precision is a plan that commands awe. These figures did not hide in silence out of weakness. They chose it as their strategy. They built a cathedral of respect brick by brick with their restrained actions, and they let the echoes of those actions do all the talking. They knew that legends are not built on what was said, but on what was done in the quiet before the storm. Criticism is the crucible where silent power is forged. It is the moment your instincts scream for a defense, for a justification, for a counter-argument. It is the moment where most people shatter their own authority in a desperate attempt to protect it. And it is the moment where you can choose a different path. The psychology is simple but profound. Defensiveness signals weakness. It signals that the criticism has hit a nerve, that your position is insecure, and that you require the criticizer to change their mind in order for you to feel stable again. You have handed them the power to dictate your emotional state. Restraint, in the face of criticism, signals unshakable strength. It communicates that the criticism is merely data, an external opinion that you can coolly assess without it threatening your core self. You remain the judge of your own worth. The tactics are deceptively simple. The first is to simply listen. Don't formulate a response while they are talking. Just absorb it. Let them finish. The second and most powerful tool is the practice of agreeing and amplifying, or simply validating and moving on. You do not have to agree with the content, but you can agree with their right to perceive it. Responses like, "I appreciate you sharing that perspective," or "That's an interesting point, I'll give it some thought," are incredibly disarming. They validate the person without validating the criticism, and they completely shut down the expected drama of a defensive argument. Imagine a person standing perfectly still as harsh words swirl around them like black smoke. The words have no target. They cannot land because there is no resistance. There is nothing to push against. The criticizer is left shouting into a void, and they quickly exhaust themselves. Now imagine a calm lake, its surface perfectly still, reflecting the storm clouds above. The lake does not argue with the clouds. It does not try to explain why it is a lake. It simply exists, deep and undisturbed by the weather on its surface. This is you, handling criticism. You are the lake. The criticism is the weather. It will pass. Your depth and stillness are eternal. By not explaining, you are not avoiding conflict. You are transcending it. You are operating on a different plane where their arrows cannot reach you. This transformation will not happen by accident. It requires the deliberate cultivation of a new habit, a rewiring of your deepest social instincts. It is a daily practice of building the mental muscle of restraint, until it becomes not something you do, but something you are. Begin with small, daily exercises in silence. When asked a simple, non-critical question, give a simple answer and stop. Feel the anxiety that arises to add more, to embellish, to over-clarify. Sit with that anxiety. Let it be there. Breathe through it. You are teaching your amygdala that this feeling is not a threat to your survival. You are showing it that the world does not end when you are misunderstood. Practice the strategic pause in low-stakes conversations. Count to 2 before you answer your partner, your friend, your colleague. Get comfortable with the sound of silence. Engage in visualization. Each morning, before you begin your day, spend 5 minutes visualizing yourself as that calm, unmovable figure. See yourself in a potential conflict. See the criticism coming. But in your visualization, see yourself breathing, staying still, and responding with a simple, non-defensive phrase. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined act and a real one. You are building neural pathways for this new behavior. So when the moment comes, the path is already worn. The most important shift is internal. You must move from seeking to be validated to seeking to be respected. These are 2 different goals that require 2 different strategies. Validation seeking leads to explanation. Respect seeking leads to action, integrity, and restraint. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I act in a way that I respect? Not, did I make everyone understand me? This is the core of the transformation. It is a quiet rebellion against the need to be liked, and a conscious pursuit of the power that comes from being unshakable. The challenge is subtle, but immense. Tomorrow, when the urge rises, will you let the words spill out, or will you embrace the silent, terrifying, magnificent power of the unsaid? This journey is about more than social strategy. It is a profound philosophical shift in your relationship with the world. It is the realization that the relentless pursuit of understanding is a cage, and that the key to that cage has been in your pocket all along. It is the decision to stop handing the key to everyone you meet. The payoff is threefold. First, as we've detailed, you gain respect. Your presence becomes weightier. Your words carry more impact. People assign you a higher value because you have assigned it to yourself first. Second, you gain power. Not power over others, but power over the dynamics you engage in. You become the calm in the storm, the unmoved mover, the person who defines the terms of any interaction simply by their refusal to play by anyone else's. But the greatest reward is the third, an immense, overwhelming internal freedom. Imagine the mental energy you currently waste crafting explanations, rehearsing justifications, and agonizing over perceptions. That is a vast reservoir of psychic energy. When you dam that river of explanation, that energy is freed up. It becomes available for creation, for ambition, for deep thought, for genuine connection with those who have earned it. The noise of the world fades, and you are left with a silence that is not empty, but full of your own potential. You realize that the fewer explanations you give, the more control you command, because you are only controlling the only thing you ever truly can, yourself. Your actions become your language. Your boundaries become your walls, built not to keep people out, but to define the sacred space of your own sovereignty. You are no longer a defendant in the courtroom of public opinion. You are the judge. You are the jury. And you have quietly, peacefully, declared yourself innocent of the need to explain. This is the silent power. It is the culmination of respect, power, and freedom. It is the silhouette on the mountaintop at dusk, alone yet complete, untouchable not because of altitude, but because of attitude. The wind blows, the world turns below, and they are unshaken. They have learned the world's most terrifying and liberating truth. that you are only ever as free as the things you no longer need to say. The world fears the person who speaks less and listens more, because that person is no longer seeking permission. They are simply powerful.